This is Kirk Sinclair, hiking humanitarian. I'm speaking to Larry Dunton, a member of the Ely, Nevada Lions Club. So let's start off with first a couple questions about you, Larry. What's your vocation and what drew you to the Lions Club?
I'm a clinic manager. I retired 7 years ago now. I was the administrator for a medical center here in the community, and then very late in the career we joined forces with the hospital and became a part of the hospital organization. And again, my responsibility there was to manage the clinical part of the hospital, and we had a separate hospital administrator for the rest of it. I've been here since 1963. Kennecott owned the town until in the mid-50s. In 59, they decided to fire all the doctors that worked for Kennecott and provide insurance. And so by 1962, a group of those doctors that were here decided to build a facility of their own and quit working out of the hospital. And after about 9 or 10 months of a disaster and running the thing and trying to be physicians at the same time, I got hired to be the hospital administrator, the clinic administrator, and then I was here ever since. So again, in 2000, the circumstances became different again. The county was receiving subsidies from in lieu of taxes, or in the ad valorem taxes that the county receives, and they started hiring away all of our younger doctors that we couldn't afford to pay salaries in our private clinic that they were making for the hospital. And the offer was made to hire all of us, so we decided at that point to accept that offer and go there and close our private clinic.
Okay, and when did you join the Lions Club and what drew you to it?
1964. I had a next door neighbor that was a Lion, and we had gotten to be friends. I'd moved here in 63 from Salt Lake City, and Floyd was a member of Lions Club, and he invited me to come. Thing that a lot of the business people were doing were either joining Rotary or Lions Club, and since 3 of the medical staff were already Rotarians, I decided that Rotary probably wasn't for me. It's a little more expensive, or a lot more expensive than belonging to Lions, and they pay for everything to be done. They don't do it themselves, so that was another reason that I joined.
Okay, so how about the Ely Lions Club? How long has it been around? How did it come into being?
It was originally organized in 1925. A group from the Reno, it was called the Reno Host Club, and they're still an active Lions organization, came over and sponsored us. When I joined the club, there were still 3 of the founding Lions that were still active in '64, so they were all old men, but lots of fun, and we heard a lot of stories about that organization. I think we were organized in December of 1926, and if you can imagine a caravan of cars driving from Reno to Ely in December to organize a Lions Club, that was a real sacrifice.
Yeah, a little different than driving across Connecticut.
Oh, well, it's a lot different than driving across Nevada today. Even in the worst of storms, we have pretty good road crews that get out and keep the roads open, but I can't imagine going over, well, it's called Austin Summit. That's typically the big bugaboo about Highway 50 is getting across Austin Summit. And so anyway, that was part of the issue, and how that connection ever came. back in the early days, Ely was much bigger than Las Vegas, and we supported a good part of the state because of the proceeds of the copper mines. And certainly over the years that's changed considerably, and now Las Vegas treats us as though we lived in Utah. And if you talk to many people in Vegas, who I think the average length of stay in Las Vegas is 10 years, they don't even know where Ely is, or that it's part of the state.
So how did this, what was the original mission, and what is its main mission right now, the Lions, this Lions Club?
You know, I think initially it's always been things to do with the community. In the very early days, our Lions Club built a Bowery up at Murray Summit that's part of the state park system. We built several facilities at our county fairgrounds facilities. We built a kitchen kind of thing in a Bowery device out there that we've added to that facility. We put up some horseshoe pits and a number of those kinds of community activities that we raised funds for. In the early days, we had a lot of raffles and things that got us out into the community, and we sold things. We sold brooms. That was a big deal for Lions Club. And we sold poppies, and white canes were part of some of the activities that we had as part of our Lions Club. We had gumball machines around in the community that we collected and filled, and so those were the kinds of activities we used. And because it took a lot of manpower, we had a pretty good sized group. I think our club was near 50 members when I joined in '64, and now we struggle around 26 to 30 members at this point. But again, we're not doing those kinds of activities, and part of the old group got tired of doing them for 20 years, and they said, no, we don't want to do them anymore. So we stopped, and along with that, membership and retention has been difficult. When we do find a new member, it's somebody our own age. And so it's only good for a couple of years of work, and then they're physically not able to continue to work and do the kinds of things that maybe we'd all like to do. We've had a project of building another Bowery over in the city park by the National Guard Armory. I don't know if you've been down there and seen that park down behind City Hall. It's a baseball park and a football field, and the high school no longer uses it because they have their own out to the high school. But it's still it's used a lot in the summertime for softball activities, and there's a fair amount of people down there. Lines of one of the things that we're doing now, and you heard us talk about it today, was we do breakfast, and sometimes on other occasions we cook other things, but breakfast is our primary specialty. We do 2 breakfasts a year. The Silver State Car Classic, and being from where you are, you probably never heard of that, but we have a road that's 97 miles long. The Highway Patrol will close 2 times a year, and then we have flat-out car racing on those roads, and it's called the Silver State Classic. And there's a number of different categories, but one's an open class, and it's just flat out how fast can you go. And I think the best time so far is about 36 minutes on that 97 miles of road, so they're moving. They're really going. But in Nevada, they're flat and long and straight. You can go 200 miles an hour.
And how would you say the funds that you raise are divvied up?
Oh, most of our activities are site conservation. We do have some funds that we've spent more recently, and they're part of the site conservation, is the Erlen Lens program. And I could tell from the way you looked you hadn't heard of that. Erlen lenses are, it's a recent recognition that our eyes don't all see alike, in the sense that when there's colors involved, we interpret things completely different. We had 4 students that were in our special ed classes because they were raising problems in their other classes. They seemed to be intellectually qualified, but come to find out, when these kids look at a piece of paper with printing on it, they don't see what you and I see. They see either a big slur of words in a circle, but by putting the right combination of colors together, and this is a technique that's being developed out of California, they see like you and I do. And 2 of these students went from special ed to right in their grade level in school. As soon as they put the glasses on, they could read it, and they were tickled to death. They were no longer frustrated. And it's been an exciting program for us to be involved in. But a pair of glasses for an Erlen lens, a kid may cost upwards of $600. They bring a specialist out of California who starts with these combinations, and she has a big tray of various colored lenses and combinations, and sometimes it takes 3 or 4 combinations of those lenses. I had to laugh when the movie National Treasure came out, because the pair of glasses that Benjamin Franklin had in that movie, if you recall, they had different colored lenses. He would move them, and he could see things on this map, and I thought, geez, they already knew about Erlen lenses back then. But anyway, our club is, we shy away from welfare things that tend to benefit just an individual, and particularly things like beauty pageants and things like that we don't participate in. But lens things, and sometimes just the dialysis thing we've gotten into. It is so expensive for these people to go out of our community. You have to be gone 3 days a week, and you have to be gone for a minimum of 8 to 10 hours every time you go, and it's 200 miles, and there's fuel costs, and a meal or 2, and 2 people, because the recipient can't drive themselves. They've got to have somebody with them. And for several of our people in our community, that's a big problem, even finding somebody to just spend the day and ride with them and go. And we now have 12, and our current hospital administrator says that's the key. If we have 12, they can afford to put in all of the staffing that's required by Joint Commission on Hospital Accreditation for a dialysis facility. You have to have a urologist, a nephrologist, and then you have to have at least 3 technicians, because you're going to be doing 12 people. Some are 2 times a week, some are 3 times a week, and they can't all be there at once, so they've got to stagger them around. So it takes at least 3 technicians and a nurse supervisor, and then a physician on staff. He doesn't physically have to be here, but he has to assume the responsibility for what goes on in the dialysis center. Then we can go ahead and start doing them here. The hospital is currently working toward that. So hopefully that'll be something. The Lions Club's already said, we'll do what we can to purchase a dialysis machine, but the National Kidney Foundation says if you get a facility where you've got trained people, we'll give you a machine. You can have the machine. That's the least of their worries. So, and currently they're either going to St. George, 220 miles, Elko, 200 miles, Salt Lake City, 240 miles. So,
where do you,
project.
In addition to that, where do you see the Lions Club heading? here in Ely?
Pretty much on the continued basis. Our president is you met Paul, and then Annette. She's the new president, and we have some fairly young officers that hopefully have some different visions that will lead us in some different directions. But again, I think community service is one of the primary things that makes our club work and what we're in it for.
Okay, thank you very much, Larry.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.